It was great. I did a little thinking about something you said last week. We talked about how perhaps never in human history has a child's upbringing been optimized for their personal education. I've been chewing about what that means and what it could mean for the future and what it means for my daughter or my children. What is the best learning environment, or how do you optimize a child's learning?
You kind of broke up a little bit there, but just to I think this is a great concept to explore. And so I think all of us know some things that didn't work in our personal lives. So for instance, my father was violent and spanked me and, hit me and gave me a sense of fear. That wasn't optimal. I wouldn't do that to a kid. Likewise, I was bored silly in school. Most of schooling was really, really boring. I remember, reading things that I loved and being so excited outside of school, and then being in school and just staring at the clock and looking around and, being bored silly. So we certainly know what doesn't work. But what then becomes interesting is, okay, so we want things to be engaging. We want our children to be immersed in love. I think the love part is easier, and then I think the engagement part, how do we optimize and what are we optimizing for in terms of the engagement side is where things get interesting. Would you agree with that basic framework?
Yeah, no, definitely. That's what we're seeing with our daughter, we give her, love is easy to do, but giving her thoughtful attention, what's the word you always use? Curate, curating her life, and that takes the time and the effort, and but it's fun and it's working, and we're having a blast with it. But
just one refinement. You say love is easy, and I'm sure it is for you and your wife. And I'm also thinking of, on the one hand, not being emotionally reactive. That's one part of love that's not always easy for some parents. And another thing is, love being an expression of interest. Sometimes I remember when my children were tired, when they were tired, Freudian slip, when my children were little, sometimes I would be tired and they're coming to you with blah, 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 and you're just so tired, you don't want to really focus. But I think part of love is, even when you're exhausted, to try to give them your full attention, or at least explain, in a gentle, loving way, I really care about what you're saying, and just not right now, that right. Sort of thing. So I guess I'm even thinking the love side, there are some interesting, in terms of an optimized environment, helping them understand, when and where you're available. And I think even when they're really young, I bet with Alana, you're kind of training her about when and how she can interact cognitively with you. Does that sound right?
She's learning some, not boundaries, but sometimes I'm just busy. Sometimes, like, the phone rings and I have to answer it. And sometimes we're at the playground, sometimes we're in the middle of a game, sometimes it's the middle of dinner. And she really doesn't like that. But we try and explain to her that, this is what I do. And there's certain people that when they call, I need to speak and I want to speak, and it's work and it's how we make money and whatnot. And so the other day, she grabs her little fake or her little toy laptop, sits down, opens it up, and says, "Shh, don't bother me. I'm working. Gonna make some money."
That's fabulous.
She's been doing that. She's just pounding away at this keyboard, not sure what she's doing. So it was pretty funny.
They're totally sponges. They are, and really, who we are is in some ways the most important part of what they're learning. It's so cute. Yeah. But it was just on you hesitated to say they're setting boundaries, but yeah, you are setting boundaries. I think that's healthy and good. Just, one of the things that, because I see kids, I've got this school and I see kids grades 6 through 12, ages 11 to 18. A lot of times I see the later consequences of parenting. And I've got one middle school boy who's a wonderful kid in some respects, but he always wants attention. He's actually gotten better in the last year, but when he came in as a 6th grader, he was just demanding attention, not just from adults, but also from his other students, so his fellow students. There'd be a group of boys hanging out together, and he'd just walk into the middle of them and start blah, 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 as if he should be the center of attention. Right. As a consequence, they didn't like him. They really hated him. And he was a sweet, nice boy. The only violation he did was he was not respectful of, those social norms that say, now is when you have attention, now is not, now is when you interrupt, now you can't. So I do think actually you're teaching her healthy boundary setting.
Because Alana does talk a lot. She'll walk right up to a group of parents and just start telling them things. And she's great at taking the floor, which I really respect. Alana can walk into a group of 5 adults and take the floor. I think that's great. But so she's learning. Hopefully she won't be 11, 12 years old and still not be aware of boundaries and whatnot. But if the floor is there, she will take it. She's just as happy for her to talk to you as vice versa.
Well, exactly. Yeah, it's super cute when she's 3, but yeah, she does this to group later on, and they'll hate her. So yeah, I think that's another aspect of that people don't, and even curation. I think the other thing along those lines is I think it's really great for kids to see adults showing appropriate boundaries. Sometimes parents don't want to have any conflict at all around their kids. And of course, I don't think it's appropriate to have knockdown, drag-out fights in front of your kids. But even just appropriate boundary setting for adults and showing how to model conflict between mom and dad, that shows her that okay, people disagree. It's okay. They figure it out. Probably you do all of this naturally. But I think in terms of this optimized environment, again, Maria Montessori's genius was seeing that it's the curated environment, including the adult interactions. And so you're modeling at your computer, you're modeling when you tell her you need boundaries, and you and Marlo, when you have conflict, you're modeling how to deal with those conflicts. And just like she's looking at the computer, she's seeing, oh, this is how people deal with conflicts. Yeah. Make sense?
No, definitely. Alana does have one boundary. When she uses the bathroom, she yells out to the whole house at the top of her lungs, "Give me some privacy, please." And then 30 seconds later, "Come help." So that's like her first boundary that she she really puts out there.
Well, great. One of the mysteries is in some ways because, I think once people start thinking about this, a lot of this becomes obvious. I guess one of the strange things to me is why so few people are aware of this. And probably a different conversation is, do you think most parents that you know of are kind of aware in this way, or of kind of the whole curation of the environment sort of thing?
I don't know if it's most. I think it's many, and it might be most. And I think in their own way, the answer is yes. Like, I don't personally interact or know a lot of parents who don't give any thought to their child or to their learning or to trying to educate the child with what's going around. I see it now and then at playgrounds or just walking down the street or what have you. I'll see a parent, typically a young parent, just treating their child as though they're just. It's not curation. It's not love. It's yelling. It's tough to watch, honestly. Sometimes I just want to stop on the side of the road and see if I could just talk to them. But so in my limited worldview, living in middle class America, it's probably most parents care a lot. Some don't. Some seem to not fully appreciate it, or just think, oh, it's something that they'll learn later, or she's not in school yet. I see some of that, but I feel like it's pretty competitive, and a lot of parents are like looking around at other kids, sizing them up, myself included at times. How does my child compare? Whatnot? Am I keeping up with the Joneses, type thing? And
now, in what way? What are some of the things you look to compare about?
Well, we don't do it necessarily. We don't think we do. Like, if there's a child who is way larger, then our child will take note. Like, wow, that kid's 3. Like, it's a half a foot taller. Because Alana's pretty big, but she's not the biggest kid at the playground by any means. She's like in the high 70s to low 80s in height and weight and head circumference and whatnot. So she's not small by any means, but she looks older than she is because she's got this beautiful long hair. Alana's got 17-year-old hair. And she talks a lot, so she could easily be older than she is. So sometimes parents will talk to us, and they're like, "Oh, so how old's your daughter?" We're like, "Well, 3." They'll be like, and then sometimes I'll get defensive or say, "Well, just about to be 4, huh?" Or, how parents do that. And it was even more. This would actually happen more when she was younger, because Alana was kind of big for her age and had hair. So when she was 8 months, she looked like she was a year and a half. And I guess some parents, really kind of wig out about that. I can't blame them. I mean, you know, if Alana wasn't off the charts, I'm sure I'd be feeling those same things. So, and I have one more on the way, and who knows what's going to happen. So, I'm not judging, but you know, not all parents seem to be as actively engaged as Marlo and I try to be. Even at the playground, like we're not helicopter parents. We just love playing with her. So we'll go down the slides with her and things, but it's not like safety. It's not something. It's not like she can't go do it if she doesn't want to. But we play a lot with her. We talk.
What I'm thinking is, yeah, you've got the kind of abusive parents, and most parents, as you say, are focused in some sense. But when I think of, I think of parents running out and buying toys or books on how to child rear and things like that. And somehow that seems different from being attentive to each and every interaction in a certain sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and my wife is really good about being attentive in small interactions with her without needing toys or whatnot. Like we're teaching her math, just 2 + 2, count the fingers. And Alana, like she knows it. She goes, 2 + 2, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, and like that's just one small example. But my wife does a really good job of moment by moment being patient and attentive. Where at times I can kind of gloss over it. You know, like I'll give me 5 minutes, or I'll tell you in the car rather than right now. My wife is really good about it.
Well, and what I guess one of the things that I'm coming to is, I'm a great believer in autodidacticism and independent thinking and figuring things out on your own. And I guess I realized once one figures out the project is to optimize the learning environment, and the most important learning environment are the interactions that you have with your child and the interactions you have around your child, then in a certain sense, it seems like everybody could figure out how to do their best. And maybe they may be too tired or too stressed or whatever, and that's we all are sometimes. But it seems to me as then more people would realize it's not about the toys you're buying or the books you're buying or the advice from parenting experts and so forth. It's my own awareness of the interactions. And I guess so for me, maybe that's the new frontier, is to get people to realize it's more about their own awareness and their own judgment, and developing their own awareness and their own judgment around their personal ecosystem within their family. Yeah,
that's a great point. Something that I read this week on Facebook, right? So it's a quote from someone said that work. I'm paraphrasing, but it was like, work with your child, help them solve problems rather than learn things, because they're going to learn things through the process of solving problems. And that's a real approach, business-like approach, and I definitely like that. What do you think about that? And is it ever too early to start thinking that way with your child? Like, because I'm thinking that's how we should maybe be mentally approaching Alana is, how do you solve this problem, as opposed to learn math.
No, I know I'm 100% aligned with that. And it goes back to empowerment. It's not about the analogy I do with my discussion with older students is traditional teaching. The analogy is a weightlifter. If you had a weightlifting coach that got underneath and lifted the weights, you would never build up strength. Yeah. The purpose of the coach is to help you lift the weight. So when I'm doing Socratic education, it's not my job to figure things out. It's my job to help the students figure things out. Right. So anytime you're just putting stuff in their heads, it's like you're the weightlifting coach actually lifting the weights. Like, no, that's not what it's about. It's all about, building the strength of the child. And you build the strength of the child by, helping them solve problems. Because as an adult, in a certain sense, life is all about solving problems. And the more you could build her capacity, and some of it is cognitive, but some of it's kind of moral and spiritual, having the grit and determination and so forth. Yeah. It's a really multidimensional thing. How do we become strong, capable, independent beings? That's the ballgame, basically.
Right. Well said. Okay. That's my quest.
There we go. Well, I know we want to keep these short, both for the audience and so that you and Alana can have a fantastic Sunday.
Pardon, Michael?
Any last words before we break for this week?
I picked up a book at a museum in Balboa Park, Favorite Greek Myths for our children. All the stories are about 5 pages, so it'll be Alana's first classics. When I was a child, I was fascinated by the Greek myths, and years later, it helped bring me out of being deeply, deeply religious. Anyway, but I'm a big fan, and I hope she is too. And I think that she's got enough attention span where she can get through 5 pages or 4 pages without a picture, as long as I read in a sufficiently animated tone. So
wow, I'm impressed. Yeah. 3 years old, 5 pages is serious.
Well, yeah, so, we'll see. She has a book called The Tao of Pooh, and she can get through 4 or 5 pages in that. I actually find it boring. That's why I bought this book. I was like, we got to change it up. I'm not so into the Tao of Pooh. I'm like, you left out Stoicism, but so we're gonna start reading that soon.
I'll be asking her about Zeus and Athena before you know it.
All right, very good. Thanks,
Have
Mike.
a great week, Ryan.
You too. Take care.
Bye.